So like I said, your CV is very impressive, and I noticed that you went to undergrad and your graduate school in the West Indies. So are you from the West Indies? Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from?
Okay, yes, I'm from Kingston, Jamaica. So I did my undergraduate at the University of the West Indies and also my graduate studies at the University of the West Indies. I did my undergraduate as a biochemist. So I have a degree in biochemistry, and I did my graduate studies in an organic chemistry lab, right? Because I loved organic chemistry. I think organic chemistry is the most creative form of chemistry. I'm sure other people will dispute this, but I think building molecules, creating molecules is very artistic, and molecules can be beautiful. But I also, aside from building molecules, just building a beautiful molecule, I like my molecules to have a medicinal impact. So it must be useful and relevant to us instead of just building a molecule.
So form and function, they are
Yes,
both important.
form and function is very important to me.
So can you explain for some of us science dummies, what do you mean between like biological chemistry and organic chemistry? What's
Well,
the difference
organic
between
chemistry, like, you know, by definition, is dealing with molecules containing primarily carbons, hydrogens. And then they have oxygen, nitrogen, etc. So we are a biochemical lab. The body is a biochemical lab. So when you think about molecules in the body, you'll find primarily carbons, hydrogens, nitrogens, oxygens. So we should all be interested in organic chemistry. The pharmaceutical compounds that we take as tablets are organic molecules. Drugs that people abuse are organic molecules. So anything that we ingest into the body is an organic molecule for it to assimilate into the body. So now as a biochemist, you look at how these molecules, these small organic molecules, interact on a whole to impact the biological pathways, right? Like Krebs cycle, photosynthesis, all of that.
Yes,
so
this is coming back to me, I remember.
It's a mechanism,
Yes,
so it's the
Krebs
things
cycle.
that drive the body. When we take a pharmaceutical molecule, it gets metabolized, and you have metabolites being formed, and then we excrete them, right? So it's going through a biological pathway. So the more we understand that, the more we can understand how pharmaceuticals are processed within the body, etc. And where there's an imbalance in the body, the metabolism, etc. So whatever is being produced in the body, it's being created and broken down, and etc.
I see, so organic chemistry is like these things that you build. These are these things
Small
that then
molecules, yeah.
go through this process, and the process is the biological chemistry that deals with these organic compounds.
That keeps our bodies driving and keeps us alive every day.
So did you always know that you were going to be Dr. Karla Marriott? Were you always loving science and loving school?
No, I hated school actually.
Really?
But I did love physics. I love physics, and I liked, I tried to build a satellite one time. It didn't work, of course, but I was building circuits and stuff, you know, so my first love was actually physics. But I guess I really did always like science. I had 5 uncles that were always very key in helping me finish my homework, etc. And so they didn't let me feel like just because I was a girl, I couldn't do science. They would, you know, show me all sorts of experiments that explain scientific principles. Like Archimedes, they would, you know, well, Karla, come here, let me show you how this bucket, when we fill it with water, etc. You know, they would explain all that stuff, and I found it interesting.
Cohesion and adhesion of water.
There you go. Yeah, they would explain all these things with simple experiments. And so once you can actually see it happening, then you understand what's being said in the textbook. So practical is really good. So that's why the lab experience is very key for students.
I get it. What's the difference? Are there any differences between the university system in the West Indies, working and living there, and then now being so keenly involved here as a university professor in the United States?
There are differences and similarities. Not necessarily good or bad, they're just differences and similarities in that the University of the West Indies is coming from the University of London, and they actually founded the University of the West Indies. So it has more of that British background.
Okay.
So that system was set up, but over years it's transitioned a little bit into being a hybrid of both the American system and the British system. So it's like a hybridization. They've taken the best of both and kind of merged them together. I would say that the professor-student relationship, it's pretty good at the University of the West Indies, but it's more formal. You know, there's more formality to it. Here, it's a little bit more relaxed, but there's still a formality to it, but it's a little bit more relaxed. In that university system, I remember going to chemistry classes, or remember organic chemistry class, but it wasn't taught by one professor only. It was team taught. And I know that some universities here do team teaching, but usually here one professor teaches one course,
right.
The whole time. But I remember now, for comparison, that at the University of the West Indies, different topics would be taught by different professors. So for 5 weeks, you would get one professor teaching one topic, and then all of a sudden you have another professor, which is kind of cool because you might get tired of one professor, and then another one comes in like, yay!
Mix things up.
Yeah, it mixes things up. So I like that aspect of it, but once again, their difference is not necessarily one better than the other.